Hey everybody, welcome in to the point. We're doing well on this Wednesday. Lots to dive into today. We're going to preview the PGA Championship, which kicks off tomorrow at Valhalla. We're going to talk about the NBA, impressive performances from Nikola Jokic last night in the Denver Nuggets, winning Game 5, taking a 3-2 series lead against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're going to talk about the NFL schedule release is tonight, and the NFL is the only sport where they release a schedule and they have an own show for it. Netflix is now in on the NFL. They're taking over Christmas Day. So NFL is king. We're going to talk about the schedule a little bit. We're going to talk about a big extension for Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. What does that mean for other quarterbacks moving forward? But before we get to all of that, the Edmonton Oilers evened up their series against the Vancouver Canucks last night, winning 3-2 with Evan Bouchard getting his second game-winning goal of the series. It was an entertaining game, close from start to finish. And credit to Edmonton. I thought they played better. Again, they played better for most games in this series. But Shelovs was pretty solid again. The Canucks, frustrating, limiting opportunities. But the story of the game was not that it was totally physical, that Carson Soucy was suspended. To me, the story of the game was the inactivity, the lack of motivation, the lack of purpose for some of the Vancouver Canucks' best players. And the game ends. I go to bed. We get to the media presser, and I listened to it this morning. And Rick Tocchet, who does not hide his feelings, who's as honest as it gets, says we have about 5-6 guys who need to show up, that need to start playing if we have any chance of winning this series. And he even goes to say that includes Elias Pettersson. And I've been making this point since the playoffs started. The fact that the Canucks have won a series and are 2 wins away from winning a second series without Elias Pettersson being even good. He hasn't been good so far in the playoffs, let alone great, let alone superstar type talent. He's been there. He's been okay, but not to his superstar form, not one of the best players in the league, not the best player on the Vancouver Canucks. Nowhere close to that type of effort. So we get through it. He mentions this. And the reason why I think that's the story is because it's true. I credit the Vancouver Canucks in the way that they played. They frustrate you. They clog up the neutral zone. They get big saves. They only allowed 30 shots on goal last night. But they've been doing a good job at limiting scoring chances. And they know they can't give up a lot because they have a third-string goaltender in their net. Not to mention, I believe, a hindered Quinn Hughes, who's, you could argue, the most important player on their team. But they've done a really good job at keeping the team competitive, playing the way they want to play, and going through all of this, getting the results that they want. But if you're watching this series, it's 2-2. I think the Oilers are going to win this series. The Canucks will have a chance of winning this series if their best players show up, because Leon Draisaitl has been phenomenal in this series. I think Evan Bouchard's been pretty damn good. But to me, the best player on the ice has been Leon Draisaitl because he's scored. It's not just the points. The dude is a physical force. He's a Mack truck. He will not be stopped. You can slash him, take him down. Whatever you try to do to him doesn't seem to work. He keeps coming at you. He keeps pushing forward. And that's his superpower. The past 2 games, both in Edmonton, he had the energy, he had the push, and he's creating the offense. Because while Vancouver's getting production from their third line that's been phenomenal all playoff long with Dakota Joshua, Elias Lindholm, and former Moncton Wildcat Connor Garland. You look at Pettersson, he's been ghost-like. Where is he? What is he doing? What kind of impact is he having on the game? Not much. Niels Hoglander, over 20 goals in the regular season, now a healthy scratch. Can't play him, not having an impact. I love JT Miller. Besser's been good. But I look around at Pettersson and go, you're playing with some of these guys, but they're better when you're off the ice. You're in the way. Sam Lafferty, junk. 7 minutes last night. Mikheyev, junk. Providing nothing. Not even a tough checker. Thank God for Nikita Zadorov, Elias Lindholm. Guys you don't expect. Dakota Joshua with another goal last night. Connor Garland with a goal. How about this? Dakota Joshua, a goal, +2 for all the old heads. 1 shot on goal, 9 hits. And he played 18 minutes last night because you have to play him. Garland played 18 minutes. Pettersson played 20 of absolute garbage hockey. So you have the depth of Vancouver, while Edmonton, they don't know what depth is. Draisaitl, McDavid, Bouchard, Nugent Hopkins to an extent, and Matthias Ekholm. The rest of the team might as well be in Cancun. Dylan Holloway, Hyman hasn't had a good second round. He's nowhere to be seen. Ryan McLeod. Here's what I know about Ryan McLeod. He's really fast. I hear that all the time, and I watch Edmonton. I know he's fast. But I don't know what he's skating for. Does he see a girl that he really wants to catch? Does he see rainbows that he wants to skate around and get? Because he has no impact on the game. Skating around fast, running into the inboards, not even throwing a goddamn check. How about that? 12 minutes last night. This has been a weird series. And the reason I say that is because I don't think either team's playing all that well. Looking at Dallas, Colorado, I don't know if either team can beat Dallas or Colorado. And we'll get into the problems of Colorado in a little bit here. But somebody's going to win this series. And I picked Edmonton to win the Stanley Cup. But the way they're going with, Pickard started the game last night over Stuart Skinner. And I understand that decision. I don't think it was the wrong one. He was okay. He allowed 2 goals on 21 shots. He allowed 2 goals in the third period. And they ended up winning the game. That's the big thing. But can Calvin Pickard be your guy the rest of the way and win a cup? I don't think so. This isn't an Aiden Hill situation for me. Because the rest of the team isn't good enough to overcome it. Draisaitl and McDavid can only be on the ice for so long, and then somebody else has to come out. That's the problem. It's not the NBA, where you can, like the Knicks, play their top guys 48 minutes out of a 48-minute game. This series is wide open. Because Thatcher Demko could come back. And yes, he's been out for a while, and who knows what kind of shape he's going to be in and how he's going to feel. But could he steal 2 of the next 3 games if this goes 7? Why not? That could happen. He's one of the best goalies in the league. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. That's a possibility. Not to mention if Pettersson wakes up and the depth of Vancouver continues to play the way they have, they will probably beat Edmonton. Because Derek Ryan, Corey Perry, Janmark, Fogle, McLeod, Holloway, Darnell Nurse, Vinny Darnay played together last night, struggling. Were on the ice for both goals. So you're playing Bouchard, played 24 minutes last night. Ekholm played 24. Kulak and CC are playing more minutes than the other two. It's just been a weird state of affairs in this series. You had a suspension, you had some physical play, but I don't look at either team going, who's going to win it? Who's going to come ready to play? Who's going to have some purpose behind their decisions, behind their game? Because I haven't seen either team do it so far. Game 5, Pickard won, so you go back to Pickard for Game 5 tomorrow. I think Edmonton's perfect world, they win their next 2 games. They win Game 5 in Edmonton. So in Vancouver, they win Game 6, close it out Saturday at home. After that, it's a reset. In Game 1 of the conference finals against either Dallas or against Colorado, I would go back to Skinner. Because Skinner is your meal ticket. Skinner's your chance to win a cup. It's not Calvin Pickard. Great story. Journeyman, Fredericton, New Brunswick, has bounced around, been on a lot of different teams, didn't expect to play in the NHL this year, and played since November as the backup goaltender for the Edmonton Oilers and got a Stanley Cup playoff win last night. Awesome stuff for Calvin Pickard. But Skinner's the better goalie. You paid him long term because you viewed Skinner as your guy. Pickard was never in that discussion. Awesome that you got a win last night. Awesome that he got a victory. You're looking to win this series. But the next time the Oilers lose, in my mind, Stuart Skinner will be back between the pipes. It would not stun me if Stuart Skinner starts Game 5, even though they won without him. Because they know he's the better goalie, and the team knows he's the better goalie. You got to sit out a game, and they won it. I don't know if I wouldn't do it personally, but it would not shock me if Stuart Skinner starts Game 5. The next time they lose, he's 100% back in between the pipes. This series really is a battle of two teams on who's going to find their game first. Who's going to want to play the full 60 with everybody providing a good effort. The middle ground for Edmonton, the top tier for the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, last night you had 2 third-string goaltenders going up against one another. It's something else. You don't see that all the time. But it happened. But Bouchard scores a goal late. Edmonton has a 2-0 lead going into the third period. They blow that. But they get enough help from Evan Bouchard, assisted by Draisaitl and Evander Kane. And now it's Game 5. That game's tomorrow night. That crowd in Vancouver will be incredible. But I think Edmonton will win that game. I do. I have more faith in them finding it. They have the higher-end players to do it. But if Edmonton loses this series, that's a tough blow. Given everything Vancouver's been up against this year and with little expectations, pressure's on Edmonton to win this series, not Vancouver. They're on the come-up. Edmonton needs to win now. And they know it. McDavid's the best player in the world. Draisaitl is one of the best players in the world. They've had some playoff success, not a whole lot. Needs to happen. Staying out west, Game 5 in Dallas tonight, the Lone Star State. Dallas up 3-1. They can close it out. They dominate Colorado 5-1 They dominate them 5-1 on Monday. But the more interesting thing was, prior to the game, about an hour before puck drop, the media leaks out that Valeri Nichushkin, a man who had 9 goals in the playoffs, having a fantastic back end of the year, one of the more important players on the Colorado Avalanche roster, had failed a drug test. This was his third failed drug test in the NHL, and he had been in the player assistance program, which is helping for addiction and different things like that. The fact that he was in there a third time, it means you were suspended 6 months without pay. And after that 6 months, you can apply for reinstatement, but it's not guaranteed. So Valeri Nichushkin, well known, he's had a drug issue. He's dealt with it, but apparently he hasn't overcome it yet because he fell off the wagon, so to speak. And he's unable to play the rest of the playoffs for Colorado, while at the time being tied for the playoff lead in goals with 9. There's something you have to say off the top. I hope Valeri Nichushkin gets the help he needs. I hope Valeri Nichushkin can come back and be a better person from this. Addiction is no joke. It affects many people. I'm not saying overcoming alcohol, overcoming drugs is easy. So I wish him the best. But then you have to, and this is where you kind of have to go to the other side of the coin, and you have to look at reality and start talking realistic here. And this is where you cross like left and right, and you're willing to cross that line. Yeah, I'm willing to do that because it's the line of truth and it's the way people think. Valeri Nichushkin's a selfish person. He's dealing with a drug issue, but he was clean and he was sober. He's in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You're playing games every other day. You practice, you eat, then the next day you go on a pregame skate, you play a game, you go to bed. You do that cycle, and then you're traveling in the middle of it. You don't have a whole lot of downtime during the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's little time to do drugs, to get in trouble. Yet, he fails a drug test during the Stanley Cup playoffs, and now he's ineligible to play for the Avalanche, who are in deep trouble, down 3-1 now. And they looked dejected on Monday on home ice. Valeri Nichushkin's selfish. If I was a teammate of him, I do not want him back. This happened last year as well. He had to enter the player assistance program because he was doing drugs, and then he got something happen with a woman in a hotel room in Seattle, and he left the country for a while. He went back to Russia, which I'm sure didn't help, but he has demons, but he's got problems off the ice. He's not a great example, but back-to-back years in the playoffs, you get in trouble. Nathan MacKinnon's a competitor of all competitors. He wants to win another Stanley Cup. He thinks he's the best player in the world. I think he's going to win the Hart Trophy for best player in the regular season. He's a competitor. He wants to win. Losing one of your most important players, losing Valeri Nichushkin. Jack Johnson said he wouldn't elaborate. He clearly wanted to say that Valeri Nichushkin was selfish. He said something after the game, yeah, I just know he's not here. I'm not but, dot, dot, dot. He didn't want to bury him because he knew how it would come out and people go, oh, you're so insensitive and you're so this, that, and the third. It's not about insensitivity. It's about the truth. When you see somebody and say they're smoking cigarettes, and I have a lot of people in my family smoke cigarettes. My uncle, my grandfather, all smoked. They stopped smoking. It can be done. Drugs are no different because cigarettes are a drug. They're nicotine, alcohol, drug. They're all in and of itself the same. They hurt you. They affect your way of life. They can do things that they do nothing but hurt you. And you can overcome that addiction. So to say, oh, if one of his teammates called him out and said he was selfish, and I know how the way the world works now, that person would be labeled a hater. He's insensitive. He's not a good person himself. How can you say that? That's the truth of the story. Nikushkin needs help, and I hope he gets it. But at the same time, he was clean and made the decision to not be clean anymore. And by entering the player assistance program, you know you're taking drug tests. It can happen at any time, and you can get popped. And he did. He's a great player when he's on the ice. He's a massive man. He's a force. He's great on the power play. But when you are not there, you are worthless to your team. The team expects you to be there. The team expects you to be present, and you can't be. Because you're off doing drugs. Then you can't show up. You can't be with the team. They don't want to see you because they're PO'd with you, as they should be. A valid response. You can feel bad for a person for what they're going through and at the same time view that person as selfish, which is exactly what this situation is. Valeri's dealing with some drug issue, and that's horrible. It is. But also, hey, the rest of us here are clean for right now anyway. Could you not wait until the playoffs are over? Do you not want to win a Stanley Cup? Do you not care about the rest of us? Not doing something anymore, and people deserve credit for having the milestone of not going down that dark path anymore. But the people who aren't addicted to something deserve just as much credit for not doing it as the person who was originally addicted to doing it. Somebody could go do something. Nathan MacKinnon could do something stupid every night of his life. He chooses not to. Nikushkin's done a lot of stupid shit over the course of his life that have affected MacKinnon and other people around him. That's the thing about selfish, stupid decisions. It often doesn't affect you as much as it affects other people. I learned that early on in my life. My parents told me that about drinking and driving. Who cares if you're drinking and driving and it kills you? If you hurt somebody else, that could be the best thing that ever happened to you because you wouldn't have to deal with the grief of hurting somebody else because of your stupid, selfish decision. This is peas and carrots, but you're trying to win a Stanley Cup. It's about legacy. It's your job. When you're running a business and you're trying to make as much sales as you can, if somebody makes a stupid decision, you don't just go, okay, well, that's too bad. I guess we won't hit those quarterly numbers this year because that person screwed up. Okay, well, no big deal. No. You want optimum growth. You want to keep going. Colorado is not going to win this series. I don't know if they're going to anyway, but what I do know is they had a much better chance of doing it with Valeri Nikushkin. And the way they played on Monday, they looked completely dejected. They looked lethargic. They looked beaten up, saying, well, we already don't have Gabriel Landeskog, our captain, because he basically can't play because his body wore down after winning that Stanley Cup. And thank God we got one. But we now can't have Nikushkin, not because of his play or because he's using all of his force to keep going, because he can't stop doing that. And again, sensitivity, all the best. But selfish is the word here. To me, it comes to mind before get well soon, everybody get well, okay? Screw that mindset. When you want to do something and you don't do it, it's on you. When you want to stay clean, you stay clean because you made that decision, nobody else. The team's not going to hire somebody to sit around his house and not let him go see whoever he needs to go see. You're playing a damn home game before Game 4 and you fail a drug test. And the team looked lethargic. Georgiev actually made some big saves. But Dallas outshot them 15-2 in the first period. Devon Taves, insult to injury, also couldn't play with an illness. So Caleb Jones had to play 2 penalties, which Dallas scored 2 power play goals on. Wyatt Johnson, who was phenomenal in Game 4, which he has been all postseason long. Pavelski, no big fact, doesn't matter. They still find ways to win. Power play goal, shorthanded goal. That's the Dallas Stars for you. They know how to do it. 5-1 beatdown. Heiskanen's been great. Marchment, Dodonov. Game 5 tonight in Dallas. I don't like Colorado's chances, but I didn't like Boston's chances going into last night either. They have pride. They can still score goals with the best of them, but not having Nikushkin hurts. I do believe Dallas will close it out tonight and get back to the conference final for back-to-back years. Ottinger's been great. They're playing a good style of hockey. They believe in one another. And they will rest and get prepared for the winner of Edmonton or Vancouver, which I think they'll be favored against either of those teams come the conference final matchup. But credit to Peter. Again, they haven't wrapped it up yet. Again, Colorado, they've been champions. Close. I do think they'll play better than they did on Monday because that was just a really bad effort. They need to reset. Come out inspired. Tonight's the only game on the schedule tonight because Hurricanes Rangers Game 6 is Thursday. But I got Dallas moving on tonight, and I do feel for Colorado. They're not losing the series because of a selfish decision, but it doesn't help their chances to win a series. McKinnon needs to be better tonight if they have a chance. Rantanen needs to find his game. Georgiev needs to make a couple saves. Stop taking stupid penalties. But again, I'm going to say it. Nikushkin made a selfish decision. He's dealing with an addiction, and that's horrible. No debate, no ifs, ands, or buts. You want everybody who's dealing with something like an addiction, like something that negative, to overcome it and be better off. But when you are in a team environment, when you are with other people, and they're relying on you to be prepared, to be there, and you don't show up and are ineligible to do it afterwards, that is a selfish decision. Might disagree with me if you're dealing with something. To me, that's just an easy life thing. On Monday's program, I talked about the Hurricanes, and I said, I don't think this series is over. Hurricanes squeaked one out on Saturday. Late goal in the power play by Brady Shea. And then Monday night at the Garden, great energy. The game's nip and tuck, which it has been all series long. Close first period. But to me, I was watching the game going, well, Hurricanes are establishing a forecheck. They're coming out with the puck more times than not. And I go, they're outplaying the Rangers again. Now, Shesterkin could be the answer, which he's been in multiple games this series, but we shall see. But then, Hurricanes get on a power play. Trouba blocks an Aho shot. He takes off 2-on-1, and he beats Frederik Andersen. That makes it 4 shorthanded goals for the Rangers in the playoffs. They have 2 shorthanded goals in the series, while the Hurricanes only have 1 power play goal, which is bad. So then you go through the second period. Andersen makes some big saves. Shesterkin looks good, and you get to the third period. And the onslaught comes through for the Hurricanes. Their depth players showed up. Jordan Staal, with just a beautiful sneaks past Braden Schneider, kind of undresses him, takes the puck hard to the net, backhand, puts it past the pad of Shesterkin, makes it 1-1. Then broken play. Brady Shea throws the puck at Shesterkin. He kicks out a rebound. Evgeny Kuznetsov beats his Russian counterpart, Artemi Panarin, to the net, and Kuznetsov puts it past Shesterkin for his 4th of the postseason, 2-1 Hurricanes. 3 minutes later, barrage of opportunities. Puck comes out to Jordan Martinook. He throws it top shelf over the shoulder of Shesterkin. All of a sudden, it's 3-1 Hurricanes. Marty Necas nets the empty netter. Hurricanes win 4-1, get a victory at Madison Square Garden. And it's now a 3-2 series heading back to Raleigh, North Carolina. Hurricanes have outplayed the Rangers in this series. Hurricanes are better than the Rangers. And while, yes, Shesterkin's better than Freddie Andersen, Freddie Andersen's been pretty good the last couple games. Hurricanes still have belief that they can win this series. Playing inspired hockey. Winning board battles. Getting to those dirty areas, scoring ugly goals. Getting production from the whole team. Kuznetsov's got goals in back-to-back games. Brady Shea has 3 points in the back end in his last 2 games. Jordan Staal finally gets his first of the postseason. Jack Drury, 2 assists in the win on Monday, a 4th-line center. Aho's a great player. Svechnikov, uber talented. Gensel, I love. But the Carolina Hurricanes are built on team. They're built on everybody finding a way to contribute. We can get goals from any line that we have. We're going to play the same way the whole game, put pressure on the opposition, and see what we can do. While New York, we want to get on the power play, have Panarin, Zibanejad, Trocheck, Adam Fox control puck possession and create scoring opportunities using our speed and defeat them that way. Now, either one can work. The Rangers have been successful all year long. They won the President's Trophy. They're still in the driver's seat to win this series. But to me, the Hurricanes are starting to wear them down. The Hurricanes are starting to play their brand of hockey, and it's working. Beating them to spots, being physical, attacking the back end of the New York Rangers. Having a game where Jacob Trouba is your only goal scorer, not a great outcome for the New York Rangers. I thought on Monday the Matt Rempe fourth line was one of the best lines for the Rangers. Him and Barclay Goodrow, productive. Now you go down and see Matt Rempe only played 6 minutes, but Barclay Goodrow, get this, had 7 hits, 2 shots on goal, had an impact. Jimmy Vesey, they had good shifts. Will Cooley, I thought, had a pretty good game. While Panarin, 17 minutes, 1 hit, which I doubt that. 1 shot on goal. Kreider, no real impact. Zibanejad, Roslovic, Lafreniere, they didn't do much. Rangers didn't force anything. They didn't create scoring opportunities. They were 0 for 3 on the power play. It's rare that somebody comes back from 3-0 down, and it would be hard to beat the Rangers 4 straight times. President's Trophy winners have to beat them twice on their home ice. But I don't think it's out of the question. I do think the Hurricanes are going to win tomorrow night, Game 6 at home. They have the pieces to do it. They know the style they have to play. That home crowd will be excellent. They will be ready. But I think this series is going 7. I believe the Hurricanes are better than the Rangers. They can take it to them. Rob Brendamore rumors, could he leave for Toronto? No chance. I think he's going to stay in Carolina regardless. But he's not quit. That team played Monday night like, hey, we can win this series. They had to get 1. And after they got 1, they go, you know what? We can beat this team. We can win this series. Sure, they have good players over there, but it's not like they got Connor McDavid. They have Artemi Panarin. He's a good player, but we hit him once, he'll back off. Monday night, Panarin had a Panarin-type game in the playoffs like he normally does, where he leaves the game and he doesn't have to take a shower. Takes off the Under Armour, puts on his suit, leaves the game, and you go, yeah, that's about right. Rangers will have a response because Peter Laviolette won't let them have it any other way. But this series has been a really close series. We'll get another close game tomorrow night. But I got the Carolina Hurricanes forcing a Game 7 on Saturday. But we'll see. Good series so far. The Boston Bruins forced a Game 6. That will be on Friday. An impressive showing by the Bruins last night. I thought they were done. But for a period and a half, the Panthers didn't have a pulse. Bruins are on the attack. They were physical, going at the Panthers. They dominated. And, really telltale sign, the first 5 minutes, the Panthers had 4 icings. Just tried to get the puck out of their zone, didn't know what they were doing. They started to play back half of the second. They outplayed the Bruins in the third, but Jeremy Swayman was fantastic. I thought the Bruins deserve a lot of credit defensively for what they did. They didn't allow a whole lot of high-quality scoring chances. The only guy who got high-quality scoring chances for the Panthers last night was Sam Reinhart. And it seemed like he got 100. He had 8 shots on goal. And Verhaeghe had 4, but to me, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk, both had really poor games. Sam Bennett had a poor game last night. They had no impact. They didn't have legs. They hurt Sasha Barkov. Tarasenko he's not my favorite player. He will never be my favorite player. I don't know why he's on that line sometimes because I don't think he fits. Those two are hard workers. Those two really care. He cares more about having a cup of coffee after the game, but that's neither here nor there. That first line was fantastic, but it was the only good line. Montour had his moments. I thought he was pretty good. But the Panthers had 3 lines who took the night off, skating around, watching the Bruins defend, not creating anything. And Reinhart had 8 shots on goal. Barkov had 2, but I thought he was good. But I give a ton of credit to the Bruins because I thought they played extremely hard and efficient defensively. They only gave up 29 shots. The Panthers outshot the Bruins by only by 1. The past couple games, it was a wide margin. It wasn't close. They created turnovers, which led to opportunities for the Bruins. Charlie McAvoy with the game-winning goal. Beautiful goal, which was reviewed, and I was worried they're going to get that wrong, but they did get it right, thankfully. Those idiots up there. Panthers 0-4 in the power play. Bruins 0-3 in the power play. Both were terrible. Both really didn't get many good opportunities. But I look at McAvoy, who played 23 minutes. I thought Charlie Coyle, offensively and defensively, was great. I thought he was the best Bruins forward. He only played 19 minutes, but I thought he was fantastic. But to me, the guy who deserves a ton of credit as well, he wasn't a star of the game, which, again, he doesn't get a point in the game, so it's hard to give a guy that much credit. But if you're actually watching, this guy deserves a ton. My MVP for the Bruins last night, Hampus Lindholm. Hampus Lindholm. Says here he only had 1 block shot. I think he had more than that, but that's, I'm not the statistician counting block shots. But he was on the ice in every key moment. He was there when you needed him to be. He's on the ice against he made Tkachuk and them basically useless. Third period, he's on the ice every time that Barkov and Reinhart come over the boards. And I'd have that the same in Boston, have that matchup. I want him on the ice with McAvoy. I'm putting the two of them together. And, he played 25-33 last night. He was on the ice for the last 3 minutes and 50 seconds of that game. They kept icing the puck. The Panthers pulled the goalie with that much time left, which I love by Paul Maurice. You're going to lose the game anyway. Pull the goalie. Who cares? And he stayed out there. Block shots. Made an excellent play, clearing the puck out of the zone without icing it. Could have rushed it because he was exhausted. Didn't. Made the right play. Got a stick on that Reinhart chance late where Swayman robbed him to keep it a 2-1 hockey game. The Bruins aren't as good as the Panthers. That doesn't mean they won't win the series. I don't think the Bruins are going to win the series, but I give them credit for pushing it back to Beantown last night. Florida's superior. They have more talent. They're more physical. They have more ways that they can beat you. But the Bruins do have a lot of players with a lot of pride. McAvoy, Coyle, Lindholm, DeBrusk, David Pastrnak. They're competitors. They're not just going to give in and let you have it. And to me, McAvoy, Lindholm, those guys were so pivotal last night. McAvoy with 2 points, 6 shots on goal, 3 hits, 4 blocks, 23 minutes played. He's a stud. He's a great player. Might not be liked anywhere other than he's taken the most hits in the playoffs so far. There's a reason for that, because he's damn good. Because he's one of the best defensemen in the world. It's not, oh, Charlie McAvoy makes all these mistakes. Shut up. He's great. That game 6 will be on Friday. You got one game tonight. You got 2 games. You got you got Hurricanes, Rangers, game 6 tomorrow, and Canucks, Oilers, game 5. So that'll be a doubleheader tomorrow. You have Panthers back in action on Friday, with potentially you have Stars, Avs that night as well, but I think the Stars will close it out tonight, so you might only have 3 series left come Friday, but we'll talk about all these series on Friday's program. No real news on the coaching front yet. What I can tell you is that Craig Berube has interviewed with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Craig Berube flew to Winnipeg this week and interviewed with the Winnipeg Jets. I don't think he'll be the new coach of the Winnipeg Jets, because I think if the Leafs want him, they can outbid Winnipeg easily. But interesting for sure. News here. Peter DeBoer says Roope Hintz is out tonight, day-to-day. Radek Faska checks in the lineup. DeBoer says Chris Tanev is good to go for tonight. So big loss for the Stars. No Roope Hintz. But to me, Chris Tanev is more important. I'd rather have Chris Tanev in the lineup because he's been phenomenal in that series. So, but nothing new out of San Jose yet. Nothing out of Toronto breaking when it comes to a head coach. Just going to double check before we move on to make sure. But no, nothing yet on that. But when something does break, we'll talk about it on Friday's show. If there's something before then we'll talk about it then. The Drummondville Voltigeurs are going to the Memorial Cup. They swept the Baie-Comeau Drakkar, who had the best record in the queue prior to the playoffs. Sweeping them at home last night. Great crowd, great energy. Dawson Mercer's brother, Riley, the goaltender, the 20-year-old, the overager for the Voltigeurs. Great season for him, great postseason for him. The Memorial Cup starts a week from Friday in Saginaw. The other 2 series, the London Knights lead the Oshawa Generals 3-0. They were down 6-2 going into the third period on Monday. Score 4 goals in the third. Ultimately beat the Generals in double OT, so they can wrap that series up tonight, punch their ticket. Also, the Moose Jaw Warriors have a 3-0 series lead on the Portland Winterhawks. They win Game 3 at home last night in overtime. They can punch their ticket to the Memorial Cup tonight as well. So we might know all 4 teams competing in the Memorial Cup as soon as this evening. So fascinating stuff there. But the Voltigeurs are through, one of the great organizations in the queue. They always find a way to be competitive. They are off to the Memorial Cup. And the Boston team of the PWHL, they sweep they sweep Montreal. All 3 games go to overtime. One went to triple OT, but they sweep Marie-Philip Poulin and Montreal, and they are off to the finals in the PWHL. Toronto and Minnesota continue their series with Natalie Spooner out for the remainder of the postseason, which is a tough break for them. So that's really an update about hockey other than the NHL currently ongoing. I had something this morning anger me. I see I'm going through and checking updates for sports before we start the show. And I see this. The Brooklyn Nets will retire Vince Carter's number 15 jersey next season. The team announced Wednesday. Carter spent 4.5 seasons with New Jersey, the team's name prior to their move and rebranding as the Brooklyn Nets in 2012, from 2004 to 2009, making 2 All-Star teams and forming a dynamic duo with Hall of Fame point guard Jason Kidd. Obviously, Carter was acquired from the Blue Jays. Averaged 23.6 points per game with the Nets, his highest scoring total with any team. New Jersey made the conference semifinals in back-to-back seasons, 2006-07, but did not return back to the postseason until after Carter's departure. Vince Carter is one of the more electric players in NBA history. One of the best in-game dunkers. Became a really good three-point shooter. He was a guy that never tried to hop on super teams, played the end of his career for the Hawks, for the Mavericks, where he had some good moments. But I have a lot of time and I have a lot of respect for Vince Carter. What angers me is that the Raptors should have retired his jersey, and I don't think that the New Jersey or the Brooklyn Nets should be retiring his jersey. When you think Vince Carter, you think the Toronto Raptors. He put the Raptors on the map, and he deserves a lot of credit for even having the sport of basketball matter in the country of Canada. Remember the Vancouver Grizzlies? Oh yeah, you have to say remember, because they don't play there anymore. They play in Memphis. Vince Carter took the baby dinosaurs, a loser of a franchise, a bunch of bums, just crap expansion team that really didn't matter in Toronto, the Raptors, and he turned it into something else. I'm not saying he's Gretzky when he goes to Los Angeles, which sparked just a complete rebirth and people loving the sport in warm weather cities. But I give Vince Carter credit for getting people to care about the sport of basketball in Canada, because they really didn't. The Raptors should have retired his number. He's one of the best players in franchise history. Yes, he never won a championship. Was Lowry a better Raptor? Sure. Kawhi's the best Raptor of all time. No doubt about it. But what did DeRozan accomplish that Vince Carter did not? Nothing, in my opinion. Oh, DeRozan's more beloved because he didn't want to leave? Okay, well, who cares? Vince Carter won a dunk contest. Vince Carter made your team relevant. You had a superstar on your team which you never had before. Why would anybody want to stay with the players that he was playing with? A bunch of junk. He went to New Jersey. He got to play with Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's a champion. Jason Kidd's a Hall of Famer. Vince Carter wasn't playing with Hall of Famers in Toronto. Every time somebody was traded to Toronto, they said, we don't want to stay there. Vince Carter played some great years with the Toronto Raptors. To me, this is an embarrassing moment for the Raptors that New Jersey is going to retire his number before you. It's petty that you're not going to do it. He wanted to make a decision for his career. How is that any different than what the Raptors did with DeMar DeRozan when they told him, hey, we're not going to trade you, and then 2 minutes later they say, oh yeah, we're shipping you to San Antonio. who stink. You're going to have no chance to win. The Raptors go on to win the title the next year. They made a business decision. Vince Carter made a business decision saying, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm in the prime of my career. We're not going anywhere. We can't beat the Philadelphia 76ers with AI and a bunch of junk. AI and Eric Snow. And Allen Iverson was great for those Sixers, in particular in 01 when they played. But you remember, go look at that 01 Sixers team. They sucked. They somehow got to an NBA Finals. Credit to AI. But then they go and play Kobe Bryant, and they get skunked. They get destroyed in 5 games. It's a fun experiment. Let's go look up the 01 76ers. 01 76ers. Larry Brown, head coach, Hall of Famer. Good for him. Let's see. Let's find the roster here. Roster. Raja Bell. Rodney Buford. Yep, remember him well. Speedy Claxton. Matt Geiger. Tyrone Hill. Allen Iverson. I've heard of him. He's pretty good. Jermaine Jones. George Lynch. Todd McClellan. Aaron McKee. Roshan McLeod. Dikembe Mutombo. I've heard of him, but it was at the backstage of his career. Still doing the SWAT every now and then. Kevin Ollie. He was okay. Give him that. Pepe Sanchez and Eric Snow. That's a bad team. It's a bad team, and you lost them. But it angers me because the Raptors should be better than this. Retire his number. To say that he's not one of the best players in franchise history is just complete idiocy. It's incorrect. But they'll require if I had to pick a Raptor who was a better Raptor, Carter, DeRozan, I'm picking Vince Carter because he had more of an impact. And I remember it more. Lowry and DeRozan would be the same as Vince Carter if Kawhi Leonard doesn't come in. Because they would have won nothing, and they would have moved off both of them, and they want to stay. They were beloved. I don't care about that. I've made this argument forever, and fans often don't like it. Oftentimes, players are the most beloved who stay somewhere the longest. And I don't get that, because I think somebody should be beloved if they're there 5 seconds if they help you win. Like Matt Sundin with me. Matt Sundin was a hero of mine growing up. And I still love Matt, and he's great. But he won jack shit in Toronto. They got to a conference final in 2002, and they didn't win. But he's beloved. He's beloved as this great figure. The Maple Leafs won before. They won before they've been a joke and not winning anything for a long time. Johnny Bauer kind of won there. I remember, back when. Bill Barreto won a title, then died, but he won. They had some good players. Original 6 franchise. But the most beloved people, but he was there for 20 years. What do I care? 20 years, okay, you were a great guy, great in the community. You donated to a charity once, and then you showed up to an event late for another time, but you were great in the community, sure. Yeah, love it. I could go through every team. Dirk Nowitzki, I love him. He's my favorite NBA player of all time. He would not be regarded as much as he is in Dallas if they did not kick LeBron James' ass in the 2011 NBA Finals. He would not be as beloved. That's why he's still with the organization, because it's the only championship they got as a franchise. Jason Kidd, Sean Marion, Dirk, they don't get to buy a drink in Dallas the rest of their life because they won. But you go through different franchises and you go, well, you've won before. Why is this person so loved? They didn't get you anywhere. I don't get it. Maybe I'm cynical, but I look around and go, why is that person so loved so much? I understand when they win one. Like, yeah, makes sense. Like the Philadelphia sports. Bryce Harper's a great player. If he doesn't win a World Series with the Phillies, he's not an all-time great Philly. Simple as that. That's how that market works. Claude Giroux was a great captain for a long time in Philly. They would never view him as one of the best players in franchise history. To me, he's not, because he didn't win. And I don't think he'll be remembered that fondly, because you go, okay, well, John Tavares, great player. Not one of the all-time great Islanders. They had teams that won 4 in a row. Tavares, okay, exceptional status, first overall. He won 2 rounds his entire tenure with the Islanders. He's not an all-time great Islander. Great in the community, donated to a charity one time, showed up to an event late another time. But I mean, that's it. The Raptors have history because of Kawhi Leonard and that decision to acquire him. If they didn't do that, they'd be just another team without a title. Detroit Lions can look at Megatron, Calvin Johnson, as a folk hero, as one of the best to ever play, which he is at the wide receiver position, but one of their best players in franchise history, because they've never won a Super Bowl. Never. So they have to look at these guys who are uber talented and go, God, we loved him. Because you can't go back, oh, remember that? No, we can't. I don't remember that championship team. Cleveland Browns. Jim Brown was phenomenal. Yes, he was. One of the greatest running backs in NFL history. Correct. The dog pound. But you have to remember those moments because you didn't win. Barry Sanders, we love you. Yeah. And God, you were good. And if only you played for a team that valued your success. Absolutely, that's true. Because we couldn't help you win, Bear. And we're sorry. Me too. But the Raptors should be the one retiring Vince Carter's number, not New Jersey, aka now Brooklyn. Some breaking news from Frank Saravelli. Penguins announced Chris Letang, John Ludwig, and Matt Nieto underwent recent surgeries, a couple long timelines. Letang underwent surgery to repair a fractured finger on his left hand on May 10th. The surgery was performed by Dr. Robert Hotchkiss Hospital. The expected recovery time is 8 weeks. So 2 months for Chris Letang. 6 months for Ludwig, wrist injury. And Matt Nieto, successful reconstructive MCL surgery, 6 to 7 months for him. So, some tough news there. But I thought it was going to be worse for Chris Letang, so that's positive news for the Penguins. Sounded more like it was going to be a longer term. But there's some news for them. NBA. Nikola Jokic, my God, had a virtuoso performance last night at home, winning Game 5. He reminds everybody why he's a 3-time MVP, the best player in the NBA. 40 points, 7 rebounds, 13 assists, 15 for 22 from the floor, 8 for 9 from the free throw line, 2 for 3 from three-point range. Here's the craziest thing for me. He didn't have a turnover playing 41 minutes. No turnovers in that game. He was the best player on the floor. He made some incredible passes. So efficient. Jamal Murray didn't shoot well, but he had 16. Caldwell Pope at 16, 6 for 8 shooting. Great night for him. Christian Braun dropped 10 off the bench. But last night was Nikola Jokic saying, we're not going to lose on our home floor for the third straight time. I'm the best player here. Anthony Edwards only at 18 for the T-Wolves. Did find teammates with 9 assists. But to not have a turnover, to have 40 points, play as well as he did, going up against Rudy Gobert, who's a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, is crazy. But Minnesota didn't have a great game. They were without Mike Conley last night. We'll see if he's available to play on Thursday in Game 6 back in Minnesota. But just going back and forth, watching hockey and watching this game, it was just Nikola Jokic. You're seeing how good he is. You're seeing why he's the best player in the world, why they won a title last year. Down 2-0 against the Timberwolves, they don't panic because they have him. Because he is that guy, because he is that good. The Knicks also got back in the win column. They crushed the Pacers by 30 last night at home. Jalen Brunson dropped 44, 4 and 7 in 42 minutes. Josh Hart, 18 points, 11 boards. Hartenstein had 17 rebounds, 5 assists himself, had a very good game, drew a couple fouls. McBride, 17. Alec Burks with 18 off the bench. Tibbs had to play Burks, had to play Achua, big minutes because he just doesn't have the bodies. DiVincenzo only played 29 minutes last night, wasn't shooting well, got into foul trouble, but they overcame it. Halliburton did not have a good game, wasn't really assertive, looked like he didn't want the ball. I don't know what was going on with him. Siakam has been kind of more of a passenger all series long. Neesmith, no-show. Nembhard, no-show. Their bench wasn't as productive as it usually is for the Indiana Pacers. So the series shifts back to Indiana on Friday. And that start time of the game has not been announced yet because Celtics-Cavs will go Friday if the Cavs can extend it tonight. But the Cavaliers are going to be without Donovan Mitchell for the second straight game. And while the Celtics have not been playing well at all over the course of these playoffs, in my mind, in particular in this series, only beating the Pacers by 7 in Game 4, I think the Celtics will end that tonight. They'll advance to the conference finals, get ready for either the Knicks or the Pacers, where they'll beat either one of them relatively easily as well. But, yeah, that series kind of not that interesting to me. Mavericks Thunder. Mavericks missed 9 free throws on Monday. They lost by 4. Horrible from the line. Luka's not playing all that well. Neither is Kyrie Irving. They needed their best players to show up. They didn't. They couldn't knock down free throws. They've given the Thunder life. Series shifts back to Oklahoma City tonight. I had the Mavericks winning the series in 6. I'm going to pick the Mavericks again tonight. Even though I think the Thunder have more outs than I expected. The Mavericks are wounded. They're not getting production from outside of Washington, Kyrie, and Doncic, which concerns me. But that's a fun series. Should be a good Game 5 tonight back in Oklahoma City. French Open on the horizon. Starts a week from Sunday. Rafael Nadal non-committal on if he's going to play in it. Novak Djokovic has lost in early rounds the last two clay court events, including to this young upstart Alejandro Tabilo, who is having an incredible run. He won his match today. He's off to the semifinals at the Italian Open, the deepest he's ever been at a Masters 1000 event. But you have Arina Sabalenka, who's through to the semifinal. She was a semifinalist at the French Open last year. Danielle Collins, an American, Vika Azarenka playing this afternoon in the second quarterfinal matchup. In the already through, you have Coco Gauff playing Iga Swiatek, who met in the French Open final last year. So some fun women's tennis matchups before we get to the French Open. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. But starting tomorrow, Louisville, Kentucky, we got the PGA Championship, which some people look at as the worst major, which it kind of is. But that doesn't mean it's not exciting, doesn't mean it's not compelling. A lot of storylines going in. Rory McIlroy wins a PGA Tour event for the first time this season, last week at the Byron Nelson. He hasn't won a major in a decade, trying to end that streak. He also recently got divorced, so he's got some negative stuff going into this as well. You have Scottie Scheffler, Brooks Koepka, who won just before this PGA Championship gets underway. Looking at the odds on FanDuel, Scottie Scheffler is the heavy favorite at plus 400 to win his first PGA Championship. He's only won two majors to this point, both green jackets. But you have Scottie Scheffler plus 400, Rory McIlroy plus 750, Xander Schauffele at plus 1,400, and why he remains atop of these boards is beyond me. Plus 1,600, defending champion Brooks Koepka. Plus 1,600, Jon Rahm. You know, Jon Rahm barely made the cut at the Masters, was never in contention, was hardly shown throughout the weekend because he was out of it. Getting him at plus 1,600 is really good odds. To me, he's the second best golfer in the world when he's on. And yes, he's been playing on the LIV Tour. You're not playing as competitive of golf and all of those different factors. But if you can get him with the tied for the fourth best odds, I like that bet personally. The fact that Schauffele's above Koepka and above Jon Rahm, Schauffele's never really come close to winning a major. Both of these guys have won multiple, is psycho talk to me. Beyond Rahm, you have Ludwig Aberg, who finished second at the Masters at plus 2,200. Bryson DeChambeau plus 2,800. You have Colin Morikawa plus 3,300. My main man, Joaquin Niemann, at plus 3,500, who I had winning the Masters, and he didn't. It's a good field, a lot of good players. I mean, you can get Max Homa at plus 3,500. Patrick Cantlay, who's never won a major, but you think he will eventually, at plus 45. Hovland at plus 4,500. Wyndham Clark, former major champion, plus 4,500. Cam Smith, plus 5,000. Justin Thomas, who's won two PGA championships in the past, at plus 5,500. It's hard to bet against Scheffler because he's been playing so dominant. And it's not just against you saw him at the Masters. He waxed everybody. Wasn't close on that Sunday. You never thought he was going to lose. And he goes and plays a couple days later at the RBC Heritage, and he waxes people there. Now, with that being said, like I said off the top, taking Jon Rahm to win the event, I'm not betting on it, but if you're putting a few dollars, I like Jon Rahm because I think he's a really good golfer, and I think he'll play better than he did at the Masters. Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka's won an event before he's won a major every time. Just before he wins one, he'll win a couple weeks before. Brooks won the PGA Championship last year. Seems to play his best golf at the PGA Championships and at the US Opens because the only majors he's won. He's won 5 majors, but he's won at those 2 in particular. Rahm, Koepka, I do like Joaquin Niemann a lot. I think he's a really good golfer. He putts incredibly well. Smart guy. But if I was putting... What I like to do is if you can put money on somebody to win, sure. I like to watch through Friday. And then I like to place bets on people to finish inside the top 10. That's where you can make money. Because you can project. Like if Rory McIlroy makes the cut, you go, well, he's not going to win, but he'll find a way to get inside the top 10. He always does. He'll try to make it, he'll shoot a 62 on a Sunday at a major, and you'll go, well, where was this on Thursday and Friday? Well, he's doing it on Sunday. Or you go, Ludwig Aberg, plays great on the weekends, great golfer. Maybe if he's not playing great the first couple of days, he'll find a way to finish inside the top 10 because he's just a really good player, was great at the Masters in his major debut. He can do this. Going down even like a Tyrrell Hatton to shoot under par for a round. Will Zalatoris plus 8,000, a player who seems to dominate at the majors. Something to look into. Tee times, I love the groups. I normally don't say this because I think they screw it up a lot. But looking at the groupings here, you got Ludwig Aberg, Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas. They're out early Thursday morning, 7:53 a.m. tee time. Tiger Woods, Adam Scott, Keegan Bradley. I like that group. All major champions. All guys that are kind of older, towards the back 9 of their career, you could say. Non-threatening group for Tiger, kind of less spotlight, which is what it should be. I'm okay with that. Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, Jay Rose. You have a live guy with Rory, and Justin Rose is a perfect heel because he'll flip out or he can snap a little bit like that. Brooks Koepka, Max Homa, Jordan Spieth. Homa's a fun golfer to watch, so is Brooks. Jordan Spieth can play slow because he'll yell at his caddy or he'll snap. And Brooks, I like that dynamic. Ricky Fowler, Jon Rahm, Cam Young. I love my guy Rick. Jon Rahm, Cam Young, fine with that. Wyndham Clark, Brian Harman, Scotty Scheffler, all major champions in the last calendar year. So, it surprised me a little bit but I do like Wyndham and Scotty playing together because they are the 2 best players in the PGA Tour this year. So that makes sense. But those are fun groups. You got Adam Schenk, Corey Connors, Canadian Nick Dunlap, John Daly, Lee Hodges, Robert McIntyre. Love to see John Daly whipping out there with his Diet Cokes and darts. Jason Day, Shane Lowry, Nicholas Hogard. Let's see. Gary Woodland, Tom Kim, Joaquin Niemann, Colin Morikawa, Phil Mickelson, Matt Fitzpatrick. Nice. Pat Reed, Sam Burns, Patrick Harrington. Second major of the year. I picked Niemann to win the Masters. He did not. It was Scotty Scheffler. Betting against Scotty Scheffler right now is not a good bet because he seems to win everything. He has not played since the RBC Heritage, which worries me a bit because that was a while ago. Brooks Koepka won it last year, so I don't really like somebody to repeat as a champion. I think it's really hard to do. McIlroy hasn't won in a decade. I don't think he's going to win. And I have to see him win to really get me to buy in on him. So my pick for the winner, the PGA Championship, is Xander. No, it's not Xander Schauffele. He's been playing good prior to this, had a couple good results. He hasn't won, but he's been in the mix. I'm going to pick Colin Morikawa. He played well at the Masters. Down the stretch, played well at the RBC Heritage. He's been playing some good golf. I think he'll play well at this course. Get back in the he's already won multiple majors. He's a really good golfer. Again, betting against Scheffler, stupid idea right now. Easily could be Brooks. I almost picked Brooks because he won just before playing here. But I'm going to go with Colin Morikawa because I think he's playing good golf and he'll be rewarded for it at Valhalla. We'll recap round 1 on Friday as well as react to Colorado-Dallas Game 5, the Rangers-Hurricanes, Edmonton-Vancouver, all forthcoming in the next couple of days. And also look ahead to the UFC weekend, react to some fights. Devon Toews is good to go for tonight as per Jared Bednar, so that's good news. We'll also look ahead to Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, huge boxing fight. So that some interesting stuff forthcoming in the combat sports world this weekend. All right. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Enjoy a beautiful Wednesday. We will talk to you on Friday. Until then, take care. I'm Noah Warren. This is To The Point.